My first guest is Phil Love Mwangale. Phil is, again, a young person who has struggled with mental health, depression as well. Phil is in studio with us tonight to share his story. Phil, hey, how are you?
I'm good.
Feeling the love?
Yeah, I love it, being here.
Okay, so you have a very beautifully tragic story in a lot of ways. And as a result of that, you've struggled with depression. And I believe it's an issue that you're still struggling with to date. So maybe let's walk me backwards. Tell me a bit about yourself, Phil.
I will start like this. There's a little bit of confusion with my identity because I came from a political background. And I was born in New York City. My mom was a mother to only me. And I lived, I traveled a lot.
So your mom is American,
Yeah.
but you have roots in Kenya in that your dad is, was somebody who was very prominent at some point on the Kenyan political scene.
Sure.
So was your dad in your life as a child?
Yeah, he was there when I was 5 years old. He used to visit us and he used to travel. We used to travel, see him until I was about 10 years old. And I just didn't, I could just hear from him, but I never saw him.
So he wasn't involved on a daily basis, but you had a relationship.
Yeah.
You met him, you knew who he was, and
Yeah.
as a result of that, you got to travel to Kenya. Did you meet his side of the family in Kenya?
Just be honest, honestly speaking, I didn't get to know. I got to know about only a half-brother who happens to be mixed race in the United States when we were living. That's the only person I ever got to know.
So to date, have you met any of your father's side of the family?
Yeah, I did. I did. I was at the, I've seen them a couple of times. I interacted with them. We had conversation. I've been to functions with them. But I wouldn't say we had like a really candid talk with them.
So do you consider yourself as having a relationship with that side of the family?
I would say no. Because empathetically, we don't relate though. We just relate. I wouldn't say we have any connection at all. It's a little bit of secrecy, but because when my father died, I was a little boy. I didn't get to know what was going on.
What about your mother?
My mom passed on before my dad,
How old were you then?
about 9.
So then what happened? Who took you in?
Well, I was living with my grandma. She was in Texas. Now, my mom passed on. Then my father talked to me over the phone. So I happened to travel back and forth, and my grandma had to move into, she had to travel out of the place. At that particular point, when my grandma was not there, they wanted me to go back to my dad.
That's now, come back to Kenya now.
Yeah, because they felt that I needed connection with him. And I was losing it because I didn't have a father figure. So he didn't want me to get to know exactly what's going on. He wanted to keep it from me. So I was in the middle of all this. And the family on this side was like, you need to get back to your roots. And I felt that I was just in the middle of the struggle. It was cold, I had to sleep. I mean, it was crazy.
Your mother's side of the family felt that your father should have been the one to now take care of you. Nobody wanted the responsibility.
All right, cool. This is how it happens. In the United States, polygamy is not really considered, it's not accepted. But in Africa, per se, I don't know if it's accepted or not. It's kind of weird for people there. So what happened was, I don't really know the story behind everything, but I just found myself in the world, and I was just tossed right, left, and center, so I didn't know where I belonged.
Okay.
Yeah. I lost identity. I didn't know, and up to this date, I still don't really know where I belong.
So at what point did you leave the United States to come to Kenya?
I spoke to an uncle who happened to be a distant uncle. He called me. He called my grandma. Then he called me and told me that I should pay a visit Papa's dad, and I had to travel.
How old were you then?
10 or 11.
That's a very short time after your mom had passed away. 2 tragedies in a very short span of time. So you traveled to Kenya for your dad's funeral, and then what next?
The worst part is I didn't even know where to go. So he had somebody that he actually assigned to bring me forth with. And when I got here, this person didn't want to let me know about exactly what was going on. So what happened was, there's somebody who was assigned by my father to guide me to a place that I had to stay for a couple of days. And at that point, I had to live with a cousin, and then I was brought to the funeral, and I lived somewhere. I mean, I was not really accepted fully, but I just happened to meet all these people, and they just let me in.
So there you are, 11 years old, you've just married your father. Do you then, what happened next? Did you go back home to the United States? Did you stay in Kenya?
Well, my half-brother, like I told you, that when I met in California, we happened to meet at the funeral, and we had a long plan. For a while, we went back to California, Los Angeles, and we were actually staying together for a couple of months. We stayed there.
Did you inherit anything from your father?
No, I didn't.
So the family locked you out completely, knowing fully that you're his son?
They didn't quite lock me out. I was too little to own anything.
Did he have another wife, other children perhaps?
Yeah.
And they were aware of your existence?
Yeah.
And then, so you stayed there for how long in LA?
Well, I was there for like 3 years. Then I traveled to South Africa. Then I came back to Kenya. Then I went back to California.
Who was raising you at that time?
My brother, but not really, because also he was relatively young to raise a child. I was just staying with one of the people that I lived with. So it happened so fast. My mom, I never grieved my mom's death. My father, I'm in the funeral, I'm being tossed around. I meet all these politicians, and then I go back to California. It's just like, I kind of like lost it a little bit.
So then, through all that, were you able to finish school?
I didn't finish school properly, because I hopped in from different school to different school to different school. And there's a part where my brother actually wasn't around for a while, because he had to travel. So I happened to just be, just anywhere. I was just hanging around.
Was anybody paying for your education at that point?
My brother, but not fully.
Not fully. Yeah. So there are bouts whereby you couldn't go to school because the fee hadn't been paid.
Yeah.
So did you finish?
I missed school even before that.
So you never graduated from high school?
I graduated myself. I worked for myself.
Okay.
At the right age, I got back to school. I just had to do it for myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your struggle with depression.
All right.
At what age did you discover that this is an issue that you're really struggling with, that you're depressed?
I guess I was around in my teens, my pre-teens though. But I realized I didn't like people around. I was always by myself. I love reading, that's my thing. I love music. I used to listen to rock and roll, hip hop, R&B, anything that's inspired, neo soul. So I was just to hang out myself. I didn't like people not that I didn't like them, but I didn't feel like I need to be next to people, because I felt rejected. So I feel like I was different, Yeah, and I didn't feel like I belonged in America, because technically speaking at that time, you feel like, I came from somewhere else. So you're just lost,
So you were the Kenyan American boy in America?
I don't even say that. I just think pretty much from Africa. I don't really consider anybody African American. That doesn't make sense to me.
So at what point did you come to live in Kenya fully? At what age?
Well, I didn't come to live in Kenya.
Or rather, how are you in Kenya today?
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
At some point after I went through the bout of depression, I realized it doesn't matter where you at, you can make heaven anywhere. I felt that a lot of people, especially with the statistics in this country, there's a lot of stuff going on. And when I studied a lot about the political science, and I understand the sociology and all that, and what's really going on, I think that I'm here to, guide people. I felt that I need people to understand that a lot of people who go through the same bouts that I go through can also achieve anything. So I felt that I wouldn't say I belong. This is kind of weird. I don't think I belong anywhere in the world.
And that for you, you mentioned, is part of the pain that you're constantly dealing with, because you're struggling to figure out, like you've said, where do I belong?
Yeah, I don't think any human being belongs anywhere.
So right now you're living in Kenya. What made you make a choice to live in Kenya?
I don't think I'm actually living here because apparently I travel a lot. I'm a businessman right now. So I wouldn't say I'm living here. I'm just here for a particular reason. I might be out any time though.
Do you still communicate with your family back in the United States?
Well, I do sometimes though, but not a lot though. Yeah.
So if today I asked you to fill out a document, a form, and we came across the section for nationality, what would you fill in?
I would just put Kenyan. But really, I wouldn't believe that I belong anywhere. Like, because honestly speaking, I was raised in a different country. I was raised by one parent. I don't even understand what's going on in the cultures. I do just come across it, but I wouldn't feel entitled to anything. And I don't believe there's anything like African American.
So we also have a counselor with us in studio today, Dr. Scholastica Kariuki. She's a senior lecturer and has a background in educational psychology as well. She teaches at the Daystar University and deals a lot with issues of mental health, and especially those that are affecting young people in particular. So Dr. Scholastica is with us in studio, and I'm just going to be roping her into this conversation right about now. Hello, Dr. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
So you've had the young man talk about his background, his history, and the source of his pain, which for him by and large is identity. What could you say to Phil?
Yeah, thank you. I first of all feel his pain coming from an identity crisis, not sure where he belongs, not knowing who really is the father, not interacting with the parents as he would, not even being sure where he's living now is home or not. Definitely that would cause a lot of pain. But quickly I would say all pain can be overcome, definitely, and with help, yeah.
So Phil, do you believe that you can overcome your pain?
I believe I overcame it a long time ago.
Okay.
Like I did go through some stuff, and I'm a better man right now. I'm doing big things. I'm writing books. I'm motivational speaking to people. I never got into drugs. I never ever got into any kind of drug. That's true. Because my mom taught me she never told me what to do, don't do that. She just I never saw that in her, and I never got into any drug. Anything is a drug, even sugar, if you abuse it. So I believe that my pain is good because it makes you stronger, but you can overcome it, but you don't have to, you can learn how to deal with it.